Welcome to the first ever morning edition of Splash Play Spags. I don't know if you know, but around here, when we do morning shows, the people demand their coffee fully artist bits here. So there we go. How are you doing this morning?
I'm feeling okay. I do not have coffee or drink coffee, but I'm going to bring the best energy I can here from a La Quinta in Oklahoma City because we got some low probability crystal ball. And oh, yeah, I brought my shawl. We also have to talk about Thursday night football news. We're going to build lowball lineups. We got numbers, don't lie. I got an AirPod in my ear. So let's hit that intro. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Splash Play, the fantasy football podcast for every game under the sun. And once again, I'm Chris Spags, joined by your friend of mine, Peter Overzet. And also, Pete, I don't know if you can notice, I don't know what to do with my hands. I've got a lot of free space to wiggle around here, and I get to play with the studio more like you do every show.
Yeah, I could tell you're very outside of your element. You like your studio space. I'm like you too. I don't want to. I'm actually going away for a couple nights this weekend, and already I'm like I don't want to have to do stuff on my laptop. I like having my setup. So how else is the cross country drive going otherwise?
So it has been a difficult one, I'll say. First of all, there's, driving 8 hours a day can start to wear on you, especially when yesterday I was talking to Pete about it. It took an extra 2 hours going from Santa Fe here to Oklahoma City because of a traffic delay thing that rerouted me, then rerouted me, then rerouted me again. I don't even know if I had to get rerouted in the first place by the end of it all, but I survived there. I survived also signs saying hitchhikers may be escaped inmates that was in the state borderline of Oklahoma City. So that's how you get to know a real taste of culture. And one of my dogs vomited on the other dog in the back of the car out of sheer anxiety slash not enjoying being in the back of a two-door Honda Civic. And who would have guessed, Pete, that dogs don't like two-door sedans?
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen your dog on camera, but he's chilling in the background there.
Too late. That's how little you know me, Pete. From more really on the dog front, because they used to be in the background of everything, and now because I have the separate room, or I'm gonna have an even more separate room, they don't wander around. But that's my girl dog, Penny, the older one, and then the one with cancer is down here on the floor with a cone on her head, so she doesn't lick her bloody sores. It's a lot of fun, Pete, as you can imagine.
Well, I'm glad everyone made it to the show today. I'm glad we have our early morning crew here. Good morning, J Mike. Good morning, Belair. Good morning, Bergeron. And as Iceman reminds us, happy veterans to all the vets out there.
And also, as Iceman reminds us, hopefully swinging through to the Pasta House Company. I honestly didn't even think of that. I did have a nice Oklahoma City dinner yesterday that I ordered because I got here at 8 p.m. and was like, I'm not going to go out anywhere. It's been basically every day for me. And I'm doing a Davis Matic where I'm perfectly capable of going to a pasta house for our good pal Frankie. And unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to make it to a pasta house.
Wow. This is.
I know. I've become everything I hate.
And even Nick spending his off day with us. The morning crew is out strong today, and we're gonna need your energy because I could tell both Spags and I need it right now.
Yeah, so help us out. Hit that like button if you can, and of course, make sure to go follow at Splash Play Pod. If you can, give us 5 stars and a review. I need those now more than ever. Actually, put in an order for there's Penny wandering around. I put in an order for a weight set to have in our new basement that we're going to turn into a little fitness room in addition to the studio space. Amazon was like, somebody's trying to move for you, and it's you're being fraud alerted. So I have to deal with that on the road too. So I need these likes and podcast reviews more than ever. And I also need you guys to go over to footballoutsiders.com/subscribe where you can get packages for $1 a week. And that's a year-long deal. So you're putting down $50, but $1 for all of the data they have on their DVOA and a whole lot more. Defense versus receivers, especially valuable for some of those showdown matchups out there like tonight with the Ravens and the Dolphins. Just go to footballoutsiders.com/subscribe. Also check out the coach rankings video they put out too. We talked about that on Monday's show or Sunday night show a little bit, but they did rank all the coaches based upon their critical play calling as well as what they're getting out of the teams. And Pete, I know we talked about this guy on Monday, and I actually didn't know this before the results came out, but Brandon Staley was ranked the #1 critical call coach. You know who was number 2? I feel like this one might surprise you.
Oh wow! Who would surprise me? Please, I mean, there's no way it can be like a Matt Nagy or something just absurd, right?
No, it's Mike McCarthy, which could be
Okay, all right.
somewhat absurd, but the Cowboys are winning, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And he did take those analytics classes when he was jobless, so he improved himself. He went on like what Skillshare, one of those sites,
Yeah.
Khan Academy, and was like, "How do I get better at football?" And now he knows to go for it on fourth downs.
That is hilarious. Just like he was so bad at that stuff in Green Bay, and then he took some courses, and now we can all endorse him on LinkedIn for his situational play calling.
But let's talk about some of our Week 10 news and some of the news I compiled here. I thought this was the most important news item. Packers apparently the front runner for Odell Beckham, according to some reports from ESPN's Diana Rossini. In the mix, also going to be the Chiefs and the Saints. But Odell is reportedly going to take some time, which to him means a few days. And Pete, one of us did take the Packers in the snake draft during that show with Sam Hoppen, and that was me. And I got great value on the tail end of that second round. But I think it's the most logical extension here. I guess the Chiefs, he can make the case too without they've been meandering about. But out of these three finalists, Pete, who gets the final rose from you if you are doing the Odell Bachelorette?
Yeah, I was, Evan Massey had narrowed it down to 5 that I had saw: Packers, Patriots, Saints, Chiefs, Seahawks. I do think, just knowing Odell, I honestly think he's more interested in going somewhere and being an alpha than he is even being in contention for the Super Bowl. That's just the vibe I get. So even though he'd have a better shot at winning the Super Bowl with the Packers, Seahawks, or Chiefs, I do think the Saints and the Patriots make the most sense for him. He could immediately be the number 1 there, which I think is what he wants. And the Patriots are just kind of good enough right now, and that division is a little bit shaky with the Bills, kind of having some issues that who knows? I could see the Patriots, I think if the season ended today, they'd be in the playoffs as is, but I think they could make a decent run. And so I don't know, that is kind of the most intriguing one to me right now, although Saints and Packers also make a ton of sense.
I mean, Bill Belichick always does tend to take these, damaged toys or damaged goods type guys. But I feel like in the beginning of his career, if you were to say Odell was going to end up on the Patriots, and I think too, like with where he is in his career, if there ever were a time for him to accept the cult-like status of Bill Belichick, the way that he runs that organization, maybe now is the time for him to do that. And do you think, Pete, that would end well? We saw Antonio Brown, different situation, but that did not end as well. It's probably the most recent case study we have. But Odell in New England, is that something that you actually think has legs? Because I think there's a reason why he fell off one of the lists and then was probably still on some of the other ones.
Yeah, I mean, the AB one didn't end well, not because he was some malcontent
legal
in the
issues.
locker. Yeah, the league. And so I do think the Patriots have a pretty good track record of, these divas come in and Bill Belichick's like, I'm not putting up with your bullshit, so just fall in line. Like I said, I mean, he could step into 8 to 9 targets a game in that offense. And part of what has been the problem with Odell has just been motivation, keeping his head on straight, not losing his temper. And so if he's able to do that and kind of just play with a chip on his shoulder and be motivated, and Mac Jones has looked good. He already has his Jarvis Landry there and Jacoby Myers. It seems logical to me.
One other thing too that I was watching in the hotel. This is not NFL news, but I did really enjoy the lulls yesterday with you and Brian going through the DK store. Which for a second I thought that you guys were at a higher crown level for me and I couldn't access it. Finally figured out how to get there. They don't make it very intuitive, but that is insane. If you guys didn't see the episode yesterday on Peach Channel, obviously if you're watching Peach Channel, you should be watching everything. But the lull show with you guys just going through goods and Brian talking about how he was debating their dishwashers availability, I thought was just very enjoyable content for me.
I'm worried that you're like me, partly is going to be responsible for the dissolution of your relationship as you drive across the country. You're watching lulls at night, and then you're kicking your girlfriend out of the hotel room early to do shows. How are you guys going to survive this?
She's not here. She is flying with our cat Nilla. Yeah, so she's
wait. I didn't realize you're solo. Oh, I just assumed you guys were driving together.
No, I'm making the sacrifice for the 5 months, 6 months pregnant woman that, I mean, she honestly would have been okay. The peeing would have been very annoying. Pregnant women pee a lot because I guess the baby presses on the bladder. And I don't stop. Like I basically will pee. The dogs and I will pee before we go. And then it's it. Like 8 hours, I will hold it the entire time. I'll try not to drink water. Get a little dehydrated, honestly, as a result. But it would have been terrible driving with a pregnant woman across the country. And she knows that. She's very aware.
Okay. All right. Now I don't feel bad at all. You should be consuming every bit of my content on your road trip.
Yeah, that's quietly masturbating in a hotel room watching lulls and you guys talking about dishwasher buying for crowds.
Frankie has emerged and he heard your pasta house slander. Do you want to apologize to Frankie and or make a pit stop?
I mean, I apologize to Frankie. Unfortunately, the time has been really tight here, and I got Charleston's here in Oklahoma City, so that's the one. But I will be in St. Louis today. But if I'm in St. Louis, I mean, I know Frankie said it's one of the locations. Would love to go to the Paz House. I think I have to go get St. Louis ribs. I feel like if I have to choose between St. Louis pasta chain or St. Louis ribs, like Pete, what's a man to do in that scenario?
I mean, I think you need to do the old Louis C.K. bit, who we probably shouldn't reference, and do one of the bang bang meals where you go and get first you get the pasta and then you go get a little dessert barbecue after.
Yeah, not as other meals, not as other not as desserts.
I knew I shouldn't even have made that reference. That would have teed you up too good.
You were asking for it. Back to the news. Tua questionable tonight, unless that's changed within the last few hours. Versus the Ravens, I checked around, didn't see anything about it, Pete. But Tua being back, I think for showdown, obviously very important tonight. Jacoby Brissett's still going to be firmly in play, if not. But how are you handling this one? We'll know before the game time. It's very early. We're doing this one today, so we do not know that yet. But how are you feeling about Tua in this spot if he is able to go?
Yeah, it does sound like he's not. Cameron
Okay.
Wolf reported that they are expecting to start Jacoby Brissett, and it seems like that's kind of how it's leaning on the short week, just giving him a little bit more time with the finger. So as of right now, I'm banking on Brissett. The line is Dolphins are 7.5-point home underdogs here against the Ravens. The over-under is kind of nice at 46.5. So maybe we could see a bit of a shootout there if Jacoby can play decently. So yeah, the other thing I'm interested for tonight is Sammy Watkins is going to return, and we haven't seen him and Rashad Bateman play together yet. And Bateman's been playing really well when he's on the field. And so now it's kind of interesting to see, is that just a product of the vacated targets there? Or is he kind of ascending to be, more of a target hog in that offense? I'll be interested to see how that shakes out.
Do you think that that Bateman's done enough to Wally Pip Sammy Watkins? Of course, a reference that's still very near dear to our hearts. So
Yeah,
we'll take
it's
that
tough.
big sip.
I mean, I feel pretty confident that Bateman is more talented at this point, just where Watkins is at in his career. But I mean, we've talked about this a lot with these, wide receiver threes or the third target. Like if they're splitting, it's going to be hard for either of them to be fantasy relevant. So my guess is just Sammy Watkins isn't just going to, be a suit up and then not play at all. So I'm a little worried about it from Bateman, and I'm guessing both will be pretty good showdown options tonight just because people will be worried about that dynamic.
Yeah, I would think Bateman's past him in the pecking order, but still going to probably give up to, I would say, obviously, it's a total off the top of my head number, but I feel like he gives up 40% of his snaps at some of the routes there, maybe a little bit less. But I think, the ability to take the top off of a defense as well as be a showdown captain, I think is still there for him. And I'm with you on that one. Other news that I had here, Nick Chubb is on the COVID list alongside Demetric Felton. The Browns tried out Kerryon Johnson, Ito Smith, and Dexter Williams. Turned out they signed Dexter Williams. And I guess the question for you, Pete, it is now another running back being in tow. I think John Kelly's still there as well and should get some snaps. But going against New England, not a great matchup. We've seen that kind of hurt some running backs the last few weeks. I know you've talked about it on the show as well. So are you willing to trust the Browns? And also 1 to 10, how bad do you feel for the Browns at this point? They're getting everything thrown at them. And if they make the playoffs, I feel like you kind of have to root for the team just given how much they've overcome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about this spot for Nick Chubb. And, we were kind of debating it last night on ship chasing whether, because we have seen certain situations where, where were we debating it? Maybe it was on Swolecast, too many shows, about, how committed the Browns are to using two running backs, because we have seen that in some situations where we've been very excited about Kareem Hunt being the bell cow, and then that's not the case. But when it has been reversed, when Nick Chubb is kind of the one in the backfield, they have been a little bit more willing to fully lean on him. And then he's coming off of his monster game too. So because the options are now so thin there, I think Dearness Johnson is going to, set up well in this game. And I guess we still haven't gotten full confirmation that Chubb is going to miss, but based on how things have been going, like with the Noah Fant situation last week with COVID, I would assume this is going to be Dearness Johnson's backfield.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he needs to get more negative tests in. That seems unlikely at this point. And I think we're having numbers don't lie set that I'm curious to see how Pete receives based on the COVID numbers. That I actually I did a lot more research for numbers don't lie this week. For some reason, I was in the hotel. I'm like, I got to make sure it's good because otherwise the hotel background that's people normally come for is my home studio, but not the case. You mentioned this guy, Noah Fant off the COVID list. We saw Albert Aguibuonam get banged up last week. Does this matter too much for you? It does feel like with Jerry Jeudy back, the Broncos targets. In fact, frankly, they may run 50 times a game based on the results they got last time out. Does this matter having Noah Fant back in the mix for you for Denver?
I mean, I think he's in the conversation at tight end. This week tight ends kind of gross on the DFS main slate, and we've seen Noah Fant show a pretty good ceiling. And the Broncos are kind of in that territory now where because they have so many viable pass catchers that one or two of them are getting there each game, and you never know, is it Tim Patrick, is it Sutton, is it Judy, is it Fant? So I don't think he's going to be too popular in DFS, and you always kind of get that discount when they miss the week before. People kind of want to see it again. So I don't know. Noah Fant looks decent to me as a DFS play this week.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a GPP option you get a little bit of. I think that's always going to be the Noah Fant ethos in life, but probably some more appealing ones on that Broncos team. Anything else news-wise that we didn't talk about here that you think is worth adding to the fire?
Yeah, there were two other kind of injury situations that popped up. Chase Claypool is now week to week. And to me, that implies he's not going to play this week. And so I think you're looking at some pretty big target shares for Deontay Johnson and Pat Philhelmuth this week. So those guys are going to project well against the Lions once you remove Claypool's target share. And then the other one that I normally don't overreact to Wednesday absences for veterans, but everything I'm reading and hearing about this Kamara situation and his knee injury does not sound good. And all of the kind of tea leaves that I'm reading are that he's going to miss this week. So my kind of big takeaway is if Mark Ingram is kicking around in one of your leagues still, I mean, pick him up, because talk about another backfield that has basically no depth right now. I mean, Mark Ingram could legitimately get 25 touches if Kamara misses.
And as all the sharp players pointed out, that was what was going to happen when Mark Ingram came into town, is that he's going to take some shares away from Kamara, and maybe that meant going full Tanya Harding, giving him a little club in the back of the leg.
Now you're going full fantasy counselor and victory lapping the injuries that make your predictions correct.
Well, crazy things happen on the road. People also say, there we go, the dog's got on the bed. I just saw somebody say in chat, PayPal my money, saying that the dog wanted on the bed. They're allowed to get on the bed. I think they're just maybe intimidated by the bright lights here being on Splash Play once more after years really languishing, not being on camera.
Yeah, no, they're adding to the kinetic backdrop of the show, which is something we pride ourselves on. Normally we just get a USC blanket, and today we get dogs and cones on the bed.
Yeah. What a treat for all of us. But Pete, any other news for you, or is it time to do a road version of the low probability crystal ball?
Yeah, I'm worried about my energy levels. I think maybe it's a more subdued version, the sporting Spags.
Well, like extra mystical from the inside, but it is time where we are going to talk about week 10, some of the exciting things therein that we are seeing having potential low probability outcomes. And it's an exciting time here to have a crystal ball, because I might be the first person ever with mystical powers in Oklahoma City. From what I know, I haven't heard about any sort of soothsayers or anything like that. Can you even find your stuff?
I can't. So we had, I think I mentioned this too. We had our house photographed. Yeah. And so my wife was just like putting all of my shit into random bins and hiding it. And now I don't know where. Give me 1 sec to look for this.
Okay. In the meantime, I'm gonna try to fix my shawl, because I do feel like makes me look more mystical if I have like one eye hiding, but it also kind of makes me look like a woman in a romance novel where you're like, oh, what's the deal here? Is she beautiful? Is she? Pete really rifling through boxes could be a show on itself. All right, let's see what's in there. It's gonna be pulling out various glass dildos. Oh, there we go. Okay, glass balls and glass dildos, all in that box specifically. All right. Did you hear all that?
I found it.
Oh, you didn't hear what I was saying, though.
No, I didn't. I don't have it. I'm hardwired in, so everything you said, you got away with, because I will never watch it back.
Thank you. Good. You missed some really quality riffing is what you missed there, but it's time to low probability crystal ball, where we'll talk about some of the low probability plays and perhaps even set the barriers for what we should be doing in this segment, Pete, because I saw some things in my crystal ball, Peter, that I think you might find not low probability enough, but when you consider the overall betting ecosystem, perhaps they are suitably low probability.
Oh, yes, Spags. Normally you offer us up the chalkiest of plays in your crystal ball, and now early in the morning, even out of your element, I can't wait for you to tell us that Jonathan Taylor is a good play this week.
Well, no, instead, what I will do is go to the betting markets because this week I figured out some things betting while spending hours on YouTube rabbit holes. And in Arizona, I had legal sports betting, went 5-0, and got some really snarky tweets about the levels of bets I was making in a way that was quite harmful for somebody with a crystal ball.
Wait, were you getting shamed for the stakes at which you were betting? Please
So
fill
the,
me in. I missed this.
So the thing, I blocked them all out on Twitter because I just not the people. I blocked out the numbers because I don't like. It's not about that. It was more about the thesis of the play again to steal a Pete bit. And I put 5 bets up. NBA was live betting, and I can talk about the process another show. To tease that out, I'm going to sell my picks for $10.99 a day at betthebetter.com, evilempire.org. But I will be selling picks. Anyway, yeah, people reply to her like, they don't limit you if you're betting a penny. It's like, I'm not betting a penny. I've won tens of thousands of dollars doing this. I have some bankroll.
You know what? I really understand it. I get it. Thank you for protecting the innocent. Thank you for blocking it out. For me, it's more being able to imagine that it could be anything. Spags is betting $1 million a bet on the road. That's the kind of world and the imagination that you're allowing me to have.
Exactly. Who knows? They could have been 10-way parlays for $5,000 a piece because that's the plus EV bet you want. But the plus EV bet that I want this week is going to be the MVP futures odds, Peter. One man has taken a surge upwards. We should have gotten them earlier. Josh Allen shouldn't be plus 350. Tom Brady should be plus 350. The narrative spinning his way. This man will never catch COVID. He's taken too many tomatoes, too many avocados to get that now. And he continues to throw the ball at as good of a rate as anybody can in terms of touchdowns, in terms of performance. Tom Brady will be your MVP, the oldest MVP ever, as dusty as I am as an old soothsayer.
I actually like this one for you, Spags. You know, if I didn't know any better, it would feel like corporate came down and said, you must incorporate more sports betting content into the show. They did not do that, but it kind of feels like they might have, Spags, but I did really enjoy that pick. I have nothing snarky to say about it.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad that I should do more shows in Oklahoma City, apparently, because it's the best in our rapport. But Peter, what do you have? And to be clear, there were no edicts. I just said moving to a legal sports betting state and now can chase another dragon night to night.
They call you sports betting Spags now for a reason. Okay, in my crystal ball here, early in the morning, crusty still in my eye that I need to wipe away. I see one Mr. Michael Gallup returning to the Cowboys offense, fresh off of IR, a team who was buried last week by the Broncos that will rise from the ashes on the heels of Michael Gallup's big play ability. Dak Prescott and Michael Gallup combined for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I drove past the town called Gallup, Texas, I believe. I don't
That's
even know
a
where
sign,
it was.
Spags.
As a soothsayers, we must always look for the signs. And you saying Gallup, immediately I flashed back and saw 1,000 images of the signs of various shitteries and trinket shops that are advertised on the highway saying, go to Gallup, Texas. And I agreed this week we should go to Texas for Gallup instead. I will offer up a play that's more on brand from the crystal ball for my second play. And it's a little bit disconcerting looking at the total now for Carolina. 16.8 implied points going into Arizona. But one, PJ Walker will be making his official start. Sam Darnold's shoulder, he can't even turn it like this. PJ Walker can. And oh, how he will turn it to the tune, Peter, of 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and also 1 rushing touchdown for one PJ Walker, the XFL superstar, whose numbers really aren't as good as they looked before, but still in the crystal ball, see it all.
I knew I applauded you too early with your picks because then you immediately reverted back to your backup QB bullshit, a trope you're willing to play every single goddamn segment. It doesn't matter if it's welcome to the family, if it's crystal ball, if it's low probability, if it's ride or die, you will always go back to it. My God.
Just wait until we get to the Friday Night Lights recap next summer, Peter, where backup QBs are all the rage.
Okay, I have one here. I'm looking deep into my crystal ball. Of course, Chase Edmonds set to miss multiple weeks here with this high ankle sprain, and people are rightfully very excited about one Mr. James Conner. But I think what people are failing to see, and I can see so clearly in my crystal ball, is that Eno Benjamin is more of an issue than James Conner and James Conner stands would like to believe. Eno Benjamin steps up, and this is a 50-50 backfield. He slides right in to the Chase Edmonds role and contributes for fantasy managers who are willing to take a risk on the unheralded 7th round pick out of Arizona State.
I think that's also a pretty on-brand pick there, Peter. Running backs don't matter. We get the bid, and also, a mythical name, sure. But the one thing you really lost me on, James Conner stands? Who's out there going, oh, that's James Conner. That's the guy I really want to put my money behind.
You have no idea, Spags. Every day I come into my little humble shop where I read people's palms, and there's a line out the door with James Conner protesters saying, why won't you rank James Conner higher in your rest of season rankings? Why won't you ever prophesize about James Conner? And I say, be gone. It is Eno season.
Vanquished away. And also, I need to point out that Nick said I look like an Esmeralda with my eye covered, which I think does. Honestly, I do look kind of sexy with my eye covered. This is what I was talking about when you were digging into your crystal balls and glass dildos box.
Sexy is not the word that I would use, but I'm all for self-empowerment, Spags. Go off, King. Go off.
And our ombudsman, and of course the man behind Run the Sims, saying he's all in for an FNL recap. Don't tease us. So Peter and I think we know what we have to do now as we follow everything that Justin says.
I actually think doing one episode, an episode of Splash Play would be a disservice to the show. We should do one of those micro recap shows where we devote one Splash Play episode to every single minute of Friday Night Lights, like some of those Star Wars shows do. I think it would be great content, a 15-year roadmap of Friday Night Lights recap.
By that point, they'll reboot it, and Michael B. Jordan will be back as the coach when the movie money's run out. But either way, we can stop talking in these voices. We've done it. The crystal ball has been seen. There we go. And then a shout out to Iceman saying that he loves how one of my priorities in my cross-country drive was to bring the shawl and crystal ball. As we talk about in this show, you will not find another fantasy football podcast / sports betting podcast, Talking Futures today, that is so committed to bits, Pete, like we are. And I did, in fact, bring this shawl and this crystal ball in my most important bag that includes my Xbox, my volcano, and the dog food.
You know what? The things we do for the people, because when you said we were going to have to do this early, and initially we were going to do 10 a.m., then you asked if we could do it earlier. And I still was like, fine. And the only thing I was like, we have to do low probability crystal ball at 9 a.m. I mean, just think, don't ever make me do welcome to the family at 9 a.m. Can we agree to that?
Bottle, you got a breakfast wine, you got your breakfast pizza ready to go. You never know, Pete. You never know how schedules are going to move around.
We should also mention, are you still good for our 10 a.m. tomorrow where we booked a guest for that?
Yeah, I think so, because I'm not changing time zones. I mean, like, I think I'm still, I don't know. Honestly, whatever, it's fine. We're 10 a.m. will work. Yeah, we'll be good.
Okay.
We should say, yeah, who is our guest?
Yeah, we have a late round QB. JJ Zack Ertz is going to be joining us. Very excited. He was one of our guests last year. Always fun to do shows with JJ. And he, of course, recently launched his East Coast Dads new line of apparel here. So I thought it was super fitting as Spags literally is driving across the country to be an East Coast dad, to bring on the king of East Coast dads.
I will say, while on that theme, and again, Pete, you can stop me at any minute. My girlfriend did send me a text because she got her final sonogram appointment yesterday in LA before she moves over to the OB she'll see in the Philadelphia area. And she was like, I guess her child's penis is looking very generous in the sonograms. And then she felt the need to tell me that. And I'm like, she's like, I can't wait for you to see it next time. Like, she literally told me these things. And I'm like, I'm very proud, but also like, I don't know that this is what I want. I want to have your conversation points.
All right. Yeah. I'll be sure to update the show notes talking about the size of Luca's hog on Splash Play today.
It worked well for Tom Brady, I think, in his brand, but I think I'm going to try to ride for mine. Either way, Pete. So we did book a viewer guest today. So I think here's what I'm going to pitch you on this. I think we should do the chat does the low ball lineup today.
Okay.
Like, so wisdom of the crowd, we'll see like what they think is like whatever's the most logical pick or just what comes up in volume.
Okay, but we're still going to still go around the horn, right?
Yes, we're going to go around the horn, and then they'll pick, like,
okay.
they'll collectively pick. So we'll reward the 30 people who woke up with us to do this bright and early. And if you're watching after the fact, that's a reminder, watch the show live, because we'll do random things like this just to spike engagement for the dozens of people tuning in. But
so I like it, but how are we going to do it if the chat shouts out like 8 different things?
Then it's whoever went first or whatever we think is going to fit the best in the lineup. We have some editorial jurisdiction to exert there.
Okay, let me get the lineups up.
Well, let's do numbers don't lie first.
Oh, yeah. All right, go for it.
I just wanted to pitch that so we could tease it now. So tell a friend, Honestly, if I were smart, I would tweet it out again, but I'm not going to do that. So just tell a friend or tell a Discord person on the Deposit Kingdom to go and join us to do our lowball lineup. But it is, in fact, time to do Numbers Don't Lie, where I'm going to read 3 stats. 2 are true, 1 is a lie, and then Pete will guess which of the 3 stats is going to be the fake one. And Pete, are you ready here? I'm on the road. I'm deranged from driving around. How do you feel about this game of Numbers Don't Lie?
Oh, I have a feeling these are going to be even more overwritten than usual. I can't wait.
Or more half-assed than usual. That's the thing. You never know what's coming out of me.
No, I can just see like a bleary-eyed Spags jamming in just a couple extra unnecessary adjectives into these.
I think I was doing it yesterday where I had gotten food and then gotten a few hits of the fine. I don't even know if it's legal here, but that's the kind of bad boy I am. And again, I was like just typing away like a Muppet playing piano. That was what I was doing last night. But it's time for Numbers Don't Lie. And first one up, we occasionally oh boy, it does sound like a betting edict we got. We occasionally enjoy a good bet here on Splash Play. But how
Did corporate really send this? I made a joke and now it seems like it.
No, they honestly just let me do whatever. I don't even know if anybody watches this show.
Well, clearly once we're talking about your son's hog. All right, keep going.
We occasionally enjoy a good bet here on Splash Play, but how about one that seems almost impossible? Justin Fields is currently 10,000 to 1 to win the NFL MVP this season, ahead of players like Devontae Adams, Matt Ryan, and top defender Aaron Donald, all of whom are plus 15,000. Pete, we are fans of sports betting here on Splash Play, as you know, and also on Betsperts. They apparently a great place to track bets as well. But are you finding this one to be viable? Justin Fields plus 10,000, those other guys plus 15,000.
I find it very viable because it seems maybe one of the talent and producers of the show was able to kill 2 segments with 1 stone while looking at the MVP quarterback odds.
Maybe that might be true. You know me too well. You're getting so good at the meta games of everything we do.
Yeah, I mean that sounds about right.
Anyway, maybe it is, maybe it's not. We'll find out. Next one up, Tom Brady is a guy who looks like an MVP. I might have written this out of order too. So Tom Brady is a guy who looks like an MVP frontrunner with Josh Allen seemingly plummeting back to earth lately. But Brady's 6.9% touchdown per dropback rate put him just behind one shocking player, the man he replaced in Tampa Bay, Jameis Winston. Winston's 7.4% touchdown per dropback rate was the best in the league prior to his ACL tear. And he's actually ahead of Matt Stafford at 6.8% and Russell Wilson at 6.7%. Pete, does that sound true?
It kind of does. The Winston thing, because the snap take would be like, there's no way. But then they run the ball so much that I could see that he was pretty efficient and had a high rate when they did pass. So that one feels true to me as well.
All right, and the third one here, does it seem like a lot of players have come up with COVID this season? You might not be insane. With this week's announcements of the Browns, Nick Chubb and Demetric Felton testing positive for COVID, there have now been 147 positive cases in 2021 at the halfway point of the season, which is, and that's also between personnel and players, compared with just 67. Sorry, I got to get the numbers right if I'm going to do this bit. 67 in the 2020 season. So, Pete, 3 stats you heard here. That COVID one, a little bit outside of the normal, what we normally do, but I came across something that'd be interesting. So, what do you think here? Which one's true? Which 2 are the true and which one's lie?
Well, first, I just realized a perfect fit in you talking about COVID while writing something within the same kind of thematic, overtones of a Jeopardy writer. I feel like you and Aaron Rodgers should team up. Aaron Rodgers should become the host of Jeopardy, and you can be his official writer. And then you got the COVID questions lined up. Just the fact that you were stumbling over those makes me think that was the lie, because you got the details for the first 2, and then you were ready to kind of fudge the numbers.
Don't mistake my incompetence for part of the game. That is not correct.
That's part of the game for me. Okay, then I got it wrong. What is it?
Oh, no. If that's the one you thought is, you are right. I'm just saying that I was just fucking it up because I was trying to look up to the camera.
No. All right. That's what I thought. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I just made those numbers up entirely. In fact, I think it's kind of weird. No, you can't find the COVID numbers anywhere. I actually was looking to see where can I find how many cases there were? The NFL has hidden that like the NFL hides concussions. I guess would have been the historical thing. But yeah, I don't know where those numbers are. I'd be curious to know, because I feel like, to me, it does feel like there's more guys on the COVID list this year, at least noteworthy guys, than there were last year.
Yeah. I did. I'm kind of surprised. I thought it would. I don't know. Maybe if we're just running pure in that they've all been kind of spread out, where it's like, oh, last week's Noah Fant week, this week's Nick
Mhm.
Chubb week, where it hasn't felt as awful as it was last year. So I don't know. It seems like something is more under control, but who knows?
Yeah, so that is the fake one, the Tom Brady one, and the Justin Fields one. You can get Justin Fields plus 7,000. The only way I would take that Justin Fields bet is if it counted for the next 5 years. I think then that's like a pretty okay bet.
That actually would be a fun betting concept, which we are legally required to discuss more. Is if you had MVP like dynasty futures, odds that Justin Fields did, like just the bet you just described. That would be but no, who wants to lock up their money in a future for 5 years?
Well, it's like I bet the companies would love that. Like I'm sure if you as an underdog investor were like, "Hey, I got this crazy idea. Let's do 5-year futures." I'd be like, "Yeah, fuck, let's do that everywhere." Promo code Pete for your 5-year futures on underdog would be pretty successful. So anyway, free idea for all the sports betting companies out there. But let's do. Are you ready to do some Thursday night football showdown build? And then, as we mentioned, we will let you guys help build the low ball lineup. So we'll do that at the end of the show. And then I guess we should have Willis enter as a proxy as our third. I think if we can.
Yes, and I was also, I mean, if you guys have Discord up, I would say you guys could maybe huddle on some
Mm.
of your picks in the Discord. Although I don't want to assume that we'll be able to organize ourselves that way, but an option for you guys if you want to discuss here because you will have time. Maybe we'll have them go on one of the ends, the snake, so that'll give them max amount of time between their picks.
All right, so there you go. And PayPal pointing out last year there were whole teams with COVID. Yeah, look, the numbers may not be perfect. I think that was like I did make it up off the top of my head, and it was like this sounds believable. And again, that's part of the numbers don't lie genius slash infutility. But let's talk about the
Okay.
showdown DFS build for tonight first. Let's do that, and then we'll do low ball right after. But it is of course a game with Buffalo with Baltimore and Miami tonight. And as we talked about, Tua looking like he's trending towards being out. I need to clear my throat desperately. But Pete, we got a 27 implied point line for Baltimore, 19.5 for Miami. What do you want to take as the first pick here?
Yeah, so as most Baltimore Ravens showdown slates go, Lamar Jackson is going to be the overwhelmingly popular captain.
Mhm.
So I think both of us are always willing to get off of the QB chalk captain. So I'm down with the other ones that I'm just seeing here, looking at the Sims that look pretty solid would be Mark Andrews and Jalen Waddle are kind of popping. And then Marquis Brown, as usual, is right there as well. So I think I would be down to go in that direction. Let's say Jalen Waddle. Brissett seems to love Waddle a lot. So let's go with Jalen Waddle at captain.
It's a reasonable one. The price tags, honestly, in this slate where you have 13.8 for Lamar Jackson on DK, 11K for Marquise Brown. I think there's some equity in playing Marquise Brown at captain just because I can't imagine a lot of people want to pay 11K for him.
Yeah.
But Lamar at 13.8, like people playing Lamar at captain, that's obviously going to be the best projected play. But like your lineups are going to be really fucking hideous if you play Lamar at captain, I would think.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too of, what value we have on this slate. I do think Savon Ahmed at 800 will be a little popular there. He's probably one of the few salary saving options people might be willing to use the kickers tonight to save some money, maybe a little even like I do have permission to sprinkle in a little Patrick Laird, by the way, in my showdown lineups tonight. So don't
Is he
laugh.
going to be active?
Yes, he's going to be active. He's been
I
running
don't
routes.
know.
Come on. He is the official third down back. No joke. People are name dropping Patrick Laird on shows, worried that he's going to eat into Myles Gaskin's pass catching work. So that is the reality.
Interesting. So okay, with that in mind, I guess I will not take Patrick Laird. Honestly, I only have on my on my core data sheet, I only have the top two running backs. So I didn't even see Laird as having a projection, so that's on me. But I will go. Actually, I'll go to the Baltimore side. There's no way Lamar is not in the lineup, so let's just get it out of the way and put him in. And I think that should be the first thing I would say for anybody out there should be doing is putting him in either utility or captain. But as we talked about, probably gonna be more profitable to put him in utility.
All right. And the same thing, like if we're having Waddle and captain and just looking at the simulated lineups that have Waddle and captain, there's basically none of them that don't also have Jacoby Brissett with him, which obviously makes sense. So we're going to be jamming double quarterbacks here, and now we're going to really need to save some money.
All right, so let's go down further and Let's correlate a little. Actually, Matt Collins is 4,200. I thought Matt Collins is going to be like $800. He's not. I guess. Oh boy, is Albert Wilson playing enough snaps? No, he's
Do you
barely
know
playing.
the cheap guy that was popping in the Sims is Isaiah Ford, if you're looking for just
Really? Okay.
yeah.
I,
And by
I
popping, I mean showing up in some of these lineups that are jamming the studs.
I feel like I would take Albert Wilson over Isaiah Ford. I'm going to do Albert Wilson.
Yeah, we have Isaiah Ford projected for higher market share of receiving yards, so that's why. But it's
Okay.
fine. I'm fine with Wilson.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think they're not very different plays, is what I would say overall. But yeah, Albert Wilson, $400 on the DK Showdown. That's the one way you could save some money. And obviously, what's Isaiah Ford's price tag?
Isaiah Ford is 200 less. He's just $200.
See, that's why you take the higher price guy. Take out that to me is like the GPP play. Then if people are having Ford projected better, then go to Wilson. I mean, it sounds like a joke. I think that is legitimately why you would play Albert Wilson.
Yeah, I'll be curious. I don't think either of them will be too steamed. Who knows? All right, I will do. So we have Latavius Murray doubtful tonight. I keep wanting Tyson Williams to be a thing, but he's definitely not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Devonta Freeman has been operating as the lead back there. So I kind of like this if we're playing this as a Dolphins kind of passing game and just almost assuming that all the touchdowns go through Lamar Jackson and Devonta Freeman here.
Okay, so that leaves us 7,100. You can see some of the guys on screen there. I think I'll go Bateman here. I think I'll go Bateman here. I don't love him getting squeezed by Sammy Watkins for the reasons we talked about, and I think that might maybe make Watkins a little more appealing. I'm curious here to run the Sims ownership because I didn't pull the Osmo ownership in for these two guys, but I think Bateman's the better player. I think he's going to be running more routes with Watkins coming off injury. But Pete, if you had to choose, if you're building this particular lineup, would you go Bateman, Watkins, or somewhere else entirely?
Yeah, my just hunch, and I think I haven't seen many ownership projections out yet this morning. My hunch is that Bateman is more popular than Watkins, just because we've seen Bateman now both times he's been in the lineup here. He's done a decent job, and so I'm guessing all things being equal, people are going to always be more excited about the younger guy. But the nice thing is we're leaving salary on the table here as is, so I think that's good.
Yeah, let's see. On Osimo, it looks like they have Bateman at 20% overall, and then Sammy Watkins at 17%. So not that big of a discrepancy. But the price tag are so close. Like I think those people probably 50-50 splits for whoever's getting to that price point.
Justin, I liked Ahmed. I think he looks good too. You could upgrade Albert Wilson to Ahmed in this lineup as well, and is probably the better kind of points per dollar play. But going down to a Wilson or Ford is probably the better milli maker play.
All right, so there we go. Are you gonna actually enter this one? I noticed you put in the $20. Are you feeling a little rich this week? I feel like we've been getting the play action lately.
This is the thing. I was already going through this. I was just quickly trying to pull up a lineup, and I just clicked because that's the top one in the DK lobby. And then I was like, "Am I gonna back myself into having to enter this into the $20?" But now I'm here. I've done it. It can't be undone. Yay. It's submitted.
And now you're going to win $1 million and then completely disappear from our friendship and our podcast relationship. And I'll be like, "Hey, Pete, what about that cut?" And then you'll be like, just a fucking cartoon hole in the wall.
I'm gonna log into the Splash Play Twitter and be like, due to a decision from corporate, Splash Play is now exclusively a solo sports betting show with Spags, where he'll be giving you his favorite 10-leg parlays. Peter has fled to Puerto Rico.
And Spags is also going to be wearing a shawl over half of his face so that he looks sexy for all of his sports betting picks. All right, I think it's time to do our ride or die picks before we hit the low ball. So we built the lineup, Pete, and I think we all have a read on how things are going to go. And actually, I will go a different direction than what we talked about and go first. I do think Marquis Brown appeals to me. I think people are going to go to Bateman. They're going to go to Watkins when they see Bateman at that price tag. And Marquis Brown going off at captain when everybody's going somewhere else. And I think the same logic kind of applies to Mark Andrews, but he's just cheaper. I just think people will hate the Brown price point, won't play him. So to me, that makes him a good ride or die pick for Showdown captain.
Yeah. I think that's a good one. In the Run the Sims, we got Lamar Jackson, optimal 27%, Mark Andrews, 13.7%. I'll stick with Jalen Waddle, who is our third highest currently at 11.1%. So I'll correlate our lineup with my ride or die.
Okay, so there you go. So now we've gotten the serious lineup. I guess they're both really serious in their own ways, but the really important lineup out of the way for tonight for the Ravens-Dolphins game. So now let's build ourselves a little low ball lineup. And as we mentioned, we're going to be doing it with the help of the chat. So chat, please hit that like button if you can, whether you're watching live or after the fact, because I can tell you there aren't a lot of shows that are going to try to do this one on the fly in the middle of an episode, but that's the energy we bring here on Splash Play. And Pete, if you can, explain to the people the low ball rules, because they have moved a little bit in the way of making this a more fair, more equitable game.
Yeah, we are going to snake draft 3 lineups here. And once a player is selected, they can't be used in any of the other lineups. And the goal, as evidenced by the name, is to score the least amount of points. The other rules to ensure that this is fair is you must spend at least $49,500 of your cap. The most you can leave on the table is $500. And if you select someone who ends up not playing, you have to eat 20 points in your lineup. So last week I gambled that DeAndre Hopkins would play and be limited. He didn't play, so I had to eat 20 points, which obviously is a bad low ball play. So trying to swerve us away from those kind of spots.
All right, so there you go. So Pete, well, we're giving the audience the turn. So do we want to give them the first pick too?
Yeah, let's give them the first pick. Actually, yeah, let's give them the first pick here. The chat, either the first logical suggestion or some kind of consensus. Spags and I are going to have to feel this out. Who do you guys want in the chat low ball lineup? You have the entire board available to you.
The wisdom of the crowd is something that is definitely powerful in data and can be powerful in beating us in low ball. And what do they get if they beat us here? They get to watch the show. They get to enjoy the show for free.
This is a good guess here, or not good guess, a good selection by Avon here, Aaron Jones, who is always kind of pricey relative to that. So I'm going to go with that for the chat lineup.
I feel like Aaron Jones has been in our low ball lineups every week.
Yeah. Well, he's always priced like $500 more than probably what his role. But then, once every 3 weeks, he's going to just absolutely go off and nuke your low ball lineup. So it's kind of a fun gamble. Am I the one who normally goes first here?
Yeah, you usually go second and I take the turn. So yeah, we want to keep it that way we can.
All right. I am going to try to exploit what I think is maybe one of the edges on this low ball slate. And this could certainly backfire if he gets the starting job for some reason. But I'm going to do Taysom Hill as my quarterback here. Feeling pretty confident that he's going to see at least, some snaps, but probably not be worth using the quarterback slot on.
That is a smart one. That is one that worked out for me. That was part of why I was able to eke past you in low ball last week, though our guy Brian Schultz did, in fact, beat us with the worst lineup. But that is a solid play to go to Taysom Hill. Man, I can't take that guy. I'm gonna go Jalen Hurts. I think this is a little bit risky here because he's facing Denver, who showed some strides defensively, limited Dak Prescott last time out, and I think that's one that I don't know. I'm intrigued by overall underperforming this week, Pete. And you went ooh in a way that made it seem like that could not be a good move.
I mean, Hurts just looks like a good play to me from a points per dollar standpoint. He has a high floor, high ceiling. He wouldn't be ever in my low ball lineups, but this is why we play the game, Spags.
It is, it's sometimes different configurations in low ball. And speaking of that, I will try to actually, I was going to try to correlate, but so Chris Carson's supposed to be back this week, right?
They're designated to return from practice, but I haven't heard anything that's for sure kind of assuming that he's going to see work. He seems like a risky one.
He is a risky one because that could be a 20-pointer, but he's just under 6K on DraftKings. That'll eat up some salary. I'm going to put him in. Chris Carson at running back.
Wow. Look at this. Spags building an awesome GPP lineup again.
The last one was not that good scoring-wise, to be clear. So if you are trying to put these lineups in the tournaments, tread lightly. Maybe make a 1v1 or another swap because they're really not good tournament lineups, even if they are not great low ball lineups either.
Yeah. All right. It's back to me. The running back is a tricky one this week because like a lot of the guys who are already kind of priced up, relative to their role. Like, I would like to use a James Robinson or Damian Harris, but there's a chance both of those guys don't play. And I don't want to take the 20 points from that. So I might try to just avoid going high price running back on this one. Let's do this one. Really pains me to do because I think he might actually, you know what? We're going to live down in this range. Marvin Jones has been way too expensive for his role lately. Obviously he can burn me, but I'm going to go Marvin Jones at 5,800.
I was actually thinking about Trevor Lawrence, but I feel like the matchup against Indianapolis, like there is room to produce on them, and maybe that win against Buffalo gives us some momentum. But the Jags, very low total, under 20 still, even coming off that win. So I think that's reasonable to take any Jags and feel good about it.
All right, so the chat is tossing out some names. It looks like we have a little bit of a consensus on Adam Thielen. We also have a Mike Williams, Justin Freeman throwing out one.
AJ Dillon from EWE2K makes sense too, because then they are getting Jones and Dillon.
Well, and they do get 2 picks here. So I do like, what should we give them? Dillon and Thielen?
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right, Dillon and Thielen is the chat consensus here. Looking pretty good there from a low ball standpoint here.
I also like EWE2K recommending Trevor Siemian as though we could play him with Taysom Hill. Like that would be a bad correlation, but probably not actual roster build.
This is the problem with the chat, is then the ones we don't use, I get to use for my lineups. And I was staring at Terry McLaurin. He does look like kind of the worst points per dollar play of the upper tier wide receivers. So I am going to burn some salary with Terry McLaurin here.
All right, that seems like a reasonable one, and I will go. I'll go a risky direction again, as as I tend to do in these. But I do think this guy projects just worse for me with the situation going on. I know that's too risky. I was gonna go AJ Brown, but I don't think that's like. I think I might have fudged something on the projection because I haven't cleaned my sheet up that well. I'll go AJ Brown just for the sake of time. I'll go AJ Brown.
I love this team, Spags.
They're not going to correlate well because I am really building poorly by even my standards, because I didn't sort all my data yet in the way that I need to. And I got one more on the turn here. We're for sure going to have Jordan Love starting again, right?
No. Everyone's assuming Rodgers is back.
I thought he had to miss 2 games because of the whatever timing. I just honestly haven't been keeping up enough on news. But
the Vegas line and everything is all assuming Rodgers is going to play.
Okay, so then I won't take Devontae Adams then, I suppose. All right, let's see. I will take. Okay, this is another risky one. No. I'll take Tyler Lockett.
Okay. They're finally getting a nice little negative correlation in there between Carson and Lockett. All right.
Honestly, I don't do that enough, which is important for the chats. Remember, very important in Lowball to do negative correlations instead of just picking guys you think are kind of stinky.
All right. Either this chat is a very sincere comment or just an incredible troll. Which way are you leaning, Spags?
I hope good, because I think the show. If you tune in for the showdown part, if you tune in. I mean, people have been giving nice like iTunes reviews or Apple Podcast reviews saying like what great analysis we give. I do think we do both. We just undersell ourselves because we just like to have fun here. We're all doing serious content too, and then we come on here and it's just flinging shit against the wall.
Okay. He says it was sincere. It was just right when we were building the worst possible lineup. So I thought it could be. Thank you, Chicago. I appreciate.
I think there's something informative in Lowball too. Like there's something about the process that we come up with the bad plays that I think people like, at least from the feedback I've seen. So maybe that's it too. It's, we're doing something different, and they learn as part of that too. And learning is fun. That's the one thing I always say for shows.
Yeah. The chat element is killing me because I feel like I'm stealing theirs when they toss out good ones. And I don't know if they have like squatters rights on it once they've said it. So because the one I want to use has been floated, and I just want to be nice to the chat, I'm going to do my defense. I'm going to put in Steelers defense, who's expensive. They could definitely put up a big number at home, but we've also seen the Lions just hang around in garbage time and put up points. So I could see that price tag failing at 4,100. So I'll burn some defensive salary there. We are now to the turn for the chat. And because I was influenced, Spags, and didn't want to accidentally steal their pick, you have to select these 2 picks for the chat.
Oh, okay. I thought that. Okay, that's fair. I think so. For them, I want them to lose, and that's the tough part for them. And I think that this is one way that's going to be a good play to them, but I think it's not going to work out the way they're hoping. Nick Bird saying he likes DJ Moore. I will take DJ Moore as one of the plays, and you know what? And I'll help them out too, and I will correlate Justin and Nick Bird. If we are going to have an illuminary, a guy who's running a site, run the Sims in the chat, giving us a pick, I will take it. Chuba season it is. Chuba Hubbard at running back too.
All right, so it was
At
Chuba.
flex, yes.
Yeah, Chuba and DJ Moore.
Yep. So negative correlation running back in the flex. They're I think this chat lineup is going to beat us if we're being honest.
We will see. I mean, the only thing, the double Green Bay is pretty scary because one of those running backs has been doing pretty well each week. And so I do feel like you're, at home there. You could be giving up a big number there, but I do like the Hubbard play is a really sharp one. The pick that I wanted and then didn't want to snake the chat on because it was floated was Zack Ertz. I think he's just too expensive at 4,600. I played him last week in my lineup as well. And so I'm going to go back to that. I think Ertz is fine, but that's just a really big price tag for someone with his role and still some uncertainty about Kyler as well.
All right. So that's a reasonable one to take for you. And I guess for me, I get the 2 picks. I am going to take, I just had somebody in my head and completely lost it. Oh, you know what? This is a guy that I have not gotten the privilege to ride with in this. And I hope that PJ Walker isn't a big fan of his, and then this is going to blow up in my face. But I'll take Robbie Anderson being still a bust, no matter how good PJ Walker is.
Yeah, Robbie Anderson. What did he have? 1 target last week?
Yeah.
3 targets last week, 1 target the week before. So I really hope this is the week Splash Play Bob gets it going again. That would be wonderful. All right, you're next up.
And I get one more, and I think what I'm going to do is take a guy that I presume will get some work, but no, he's not. Fuck, Dexter Williams isn't on this. You know what? I'll take, for my second running back, I will take John. John Kelly's on the COVID list. That'd give me 20. Wait, I thought John Kelly was going to be available. Okay, so that's fucked up. Who else is that running back for Cleveland at this point? You know what? I got a good one. Patrick Laird.
Wow. I hope he catches 100 balls and shoves it down your throat.
Oh no, he's
not on the main slate. You God, I was like, why is he not? Come on, Spags. It's too early.
Oh, I was just too excited about it. All right. Jarrett Patterson's too cheap. Is this the week that Cordell Patterson comes down to earth? I'm going to say probably not. Antonio Gibson. That's one that the chat did say, and I will happily steal that one because they can't put any more running backs in anyway. So Antonio Gibson will be my guy, and hopefully he and his broken shin will continue to play.
Yeah, the Gibson stuff is weird. He's even last week or before the bye, he was dealing with the shin, and then Jarrett Patterson had more carries than him. Then he comes out of the bye and is still limited, and they clearly need to shut him down, but it does seem like he'll just be back to, sharing the backfield with those guys. So I think Gibson is a good play there. I am going to play Marquez Callaway at 5,100 here. He looks too priced up, and if I can nail that kind of Simeon and Callaway fade there with Taysom as well, I think I'll be in good shape.
Yep, I think it's a reasonable take to have, and Callaway certainly can be a guy who just, if Taysom does get more snaps, can fall to the ground pretty hard. You could take the chat's picks if you want.
I just want to marvel. We finally have someone that's not Joshua Frick suggesting Julio Jones, but maybe not in the context he would like. I see multiple Bills D from the chat, so we can give them Bills D to pay up and spend some money there. And then I'm seeing, so then the other suggestions are Julio Jones, Goddard, Hunter Henry. I was debating between Ertz and Hunter Henry for my tight end. Hunter Henry looks too pricey to me at 4,100. So I will do that for the chat.
Okay. I think those are both solid picks. I like the chat's lineup. I think they've done, again, the wisdom of the crowd. That's a legitimate thing.
Yeah. So yeah, the chat, what you guys need to start huddling on now is your quarterback. Because that'll be an interesting decision there. All right. I need to actually pick some running backs, and this is hard. All right. I am going to do Jeremy McNichols. He should probably be priced like $1,000 cheaper now that all of these other guys are mixing in as far as Foreman and AP and stuff. So I'm stacking up this game hard and hoping it goes way under.
Yeah, I was eyeing that one up too, and I think that's a very solid pick. And I will go. All right, I'm going to go in a direction that. Wait, we didn't put Julio in the chat lineup, right?
We didn't. Julio's still
Okay.
available.
All right, Julio is going to be my guy in the flex. Sorry to Josh Frick. Unfortunately, Julio's in a lineup, and I think that's really the main promise we offered him. It was one of those monkey's paw wishes for our pal Josh Frick. And then I'm going to take a defense too, and I think Jared Goff is going to figure out how to produce some points. So I'm going to take the Steelers defense.
I already took the Steelers.
Oh, did you? Damn it! I was okay.
Laird,
running screens.
Dupes. I mean, it's almost like you're broadcasting from a La Quinta on Little Sleep.
It's almost like I wasted all my good juice on that Tom Brady MVP call.
That was the first segment you planned out, and then it was all downhill from there.
It's improv is tough, Pete. I think we all know that. I guess you know what? I'll take the pick then. I'll back up the one I said earlier. Cardinals defense expensive too, and if PJ Walker is going to be good, then the Cardinals defense should suffer. So they are my defense.
All right, so then that means with your last pick at tight end, you'll be able to use a tight end that's 4,000 or more there to wrap up your lineup. I'm going to have to spend a little money on one of these picks, and I need to figure out the most optimal way to do this. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do Mike Williams. We've kind of seen Keenan Allen wrestle back that kind of alpha target share there. This is very scary because I think this is a good spot for Los Angeles. I think this game has some shootout potential, but his targets are way down, hasn't found the end zone these last 3 games. So I'm going to roll the dice that Mike Williams stays out of the box.
Okay. Yeah, Mike Williams is definitely another chat popular pick, and he's been he and Aaron Jones have really been low ball staples, and they've had okay games, but definitely have not broken the low ball open like I think people would have liked.
All right, so the chat is kind of all over the place. I'm seeing Roethlisberger. I'm seeing Goff. I'm seeing paying up for Kyler. I'm seeing a Mac Jones. I'm seeing a Russ, a Tannehill. Now, kind of honing in on Goff or Big Ben. Can you decipher chat consensus? I'm having a hard time.
I feel like the Roethlisberger one is pretty risky for them. Yeah, I would say, PayPal my money, one of the regulars here, and I think also pretty wise in terms of his approach too. So I will say Murray, he says Murray losing rushing equity with his bum ankle and at risk for injury, floor much lower than 20. I think that's reasonable. I think put Kyler Murray in.
Yeah, so the only thing I would say for them, and I'll give them the chance. So if we put this in, you can spend as little as 3,300 on your last wide receiver, which you'll be able to get a good dust ball. If we went with your Goff type thing, then you have to spend at least 6,100 on a wide receiver. So those are your 2 options there, chat, if that helps you out. Getting Kyler with a really cheap punt wide receiver, or Goff with a wide receiver that costs over 6,100. So that would put you in Amari Cooper, Michael Pittman. Those would be your only 2 options, because I've already used Williams. You've already used Lockett. It seems like the chat then is now agreeing on Kyler now that we've played out this scenario. So we'll do Kyler for you guys. And then let's go down. You need to spend at least 3,300 on wide receiver. So lots of good options down here. Equanimous St. Brown, Rashard Higgins, Kenny Stills. You don't want to do Tyler Johnson, KJ Osborne, Malik Turner, fresh off of a 2 TD game, Gabe Davis, Scantling, Rager, Washington. Who do you guys want?
Malik Turner's an interesting one too.
I see a Rashard Higgins to dust out. I'm seeing a Davis. I'm seeing an Osborne correlation. Just to say, the stuff I'm hearing, I think Kyler is going to play, but that pick is done. That pick, you guys didn't really have a choice based on your lineup construction, unless you wanted to play Michael Pittman and Amari Cooper, which don't seem like good low ball plays.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, I got a second vote for Higgins. That's our second, so we're going to go ahead and put Higgins in.
Okay. Yep, I think that works. If somebody else, if there's an aggressive tiebreaker, vote coming in that for some other direction, that's fine. But I think we're seeing multiple Higgins, so let's put Higgins in.
All right, Higgins it is. I'm taking a screenshot of this lineup, and I'm going to have Willis serve as the chat's proxy here. So this leaves me with 5,500, so I need to spend at least 5,000 down here. I don't want to use Javonte Williams. Hyde is certainly in the conversation for me. Don't want to use your boy Melvin Gordon because then I'd give you double outs to dunking on me. I'm down to between Hines and Hyde. I think we're gonna go with Carlos Hyde here.
Okay, yeah, Carlos Hyde fucked me last week. He was projected also had him as a really good value, and actually that was the game script. Like that was the right play to make, I think, at his price point. But yeah, he got a lot of work. He just wasn't good.
PayPal, I described the rules before the show. If Kyler Murray doesn't play, you guys eat 20 points, which honestly for quarterback, it's not ideal. But of all the positions to take the 20 burger at, quarterback would be the one to do it.
I agree. Is Logan Thomas back this week, or is it going to be one more?
He was like back on the side at practice. I don't think he's going to play. I think it's another Ricky Seals-Jones week.
Okay, so I'm going to take, I couldn't go down to Ricky Seals with the price point anyway, because we have to spend at least $49.5 here. So I'm going to take Noah Fant coming off COVID. Maybe that's something, and coming back to a world that he wasn't prepared for either, with Jerry Jeudy in the mix. And I think hopefully the Broncos just run the shit out of the ball, and Noah Fant does very little. So there's our lineups.
Your only other option was Gronk, which I think is too scary with Godwin potentially out.
Yep, I agree. So there's the low ball lineups, and then if the chat wins, you guys can victory lap on us on Monday, or oh boy. So that's another thing we got to figure out schedule wise too, because Sunday I'll be in a hotel, so it might make sense to do Sunday night again if we can. But I'll be on East Coast time, so I can do it earlier.
All right, we'll huddle.
We can put a pin in it. Yeah,
we'll put a pin in it.
We'll talk about the low ball lineup Sunday night or Monday morning. What was your question?
Did you submit? Did you save your lineup, or do you need a screenshot of it?
No, I'm all good.
All right, so I will save mine, and then I will send Willis an invite with the screenshot to be the proxy for the chat.
You are correct in assuming, though, that I might not have put it in, because that's always the issue when I start getting fucked up. Is like, oh, fuck, I forgot to put my picks in it, and I'm scrambling over it. It's a barrage of incompetence here in the La Quinta in Oklahoma City.
The lowball lineup in my, DraftKings lineups page has been a funny thing for me, because, when I'm scrambling on Sunday AM and, I'm trying to get my lineups in the right contest, and I actually fucked that up last week with one of mine. But so I'm scanning through, and I'm always like, what the fuck is this lineup? Like, and then it always jogs my memory. Oh, that's my low ball lineup. I'm like, this thing is awful.
Yeah, I always sort my DK entry uploader by the price points. And because we do this one for free, we're just doing it for obviously the funsies of doing it on the show. I just cut it out of like my lineup things. And I'm like, so I know I won't be messing with it at all, or putting it somewhere that it shouldn't be. But Pete, give the people the plugs here. My plugs. I'll be appearing tonight in St. Louis, and that's about it for me. And we'll be back tomorrow doing the show with JJ Zack Ertz. But Pete, what's going on for you show-wise?
Yeah, I have a lot of stuff. I'm still kind of figuring out my schedule, because my wife and I are going to a little trip tonight, but I'm going to be doing my shows tomorrow from a hotel. But I will be doing I'll do a showdown cram tonight, and then tomorrow morning we're going to have JJ on for another early morning splash play, but 10 a.m. And then I will be doing my GPP show at noon with Lord Reeves, Rich Rebar. So I'm excited. Very excited about that one. So yeah, those are my shows. I'm also doing an Instagram live with Matthew Berry tonight. So that will be interesting to see how that goes.
Well, please send him my regards. Of course, a man that we both enjoy. He was the man who really helped us get going with Splash Play in some way. Like, fortunately, he didn't get a cut of it, so he's missing out on all this sweet pasta house money we got coming in. But Matthew Berry, we love him on the show. Hopefully, we get him on. We need to get him on the show one more time here this season.
Yeah, no, he'll do it. We'll get him on to at the end of the
see how far we've come, how much we've grown as a show since we were just simple paupers last year talking about Logan Thomas with him.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's go, guys. Hit the like button here, whether you're watching on Peach Channel or the Splash Wave Channel. Of course, make sure to go to footballoutsiders.com/subscribe. $1 a week packages are going on. They're actually 99 cents a week. So even save that penny for yourself and go over to footballoutsiders.com/subscribe. Get DVOA and a whole lot more data into your life. Follow at Chris Spags. Follow at Peter Overzet. Follow at Splash Play Pod. And if you have the time, throw us 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts. Honestly, would bring me great joy here as I'm holding on to the slivers of sanity I have driving 8 hours a day on the road with these fucking adorable disasters behind me. So do that, please. Pete, anything else for you want to say before we call it quits?
No, safe travels today. Make sure to load up your podcast with all of my content and I'd actually recommend don't listen to it at 2x, put it at 0.5x and really kind of make a meal of it.
Really sniff it and waft it all and all that. That's it. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern. See you guys then. Bye.